Hello and welcome to a very special edition of Battle Cry. I'm Gaurav Sawant, and on this special broadcast, we will talk about India's Brahmastra, or should I say India's BrahMostra. The images that you see on your television screen is Pakistan's worst nightmare coming true. Not in Pakistan's wildest dreams. They've been spreading terror in our country for decades and decades. But not in their wildest dreams did they think that the headquarters of terror, whether the Lashkar-e-Taiba headquarters at Muridke or the Jaish-e-Mohammed's main training facility, their main base at Bahawalpur in Pakistan's Punjab province could be hit. And not even in their worst nightmare had they thought that without war being declared, India could target not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, but 11 air bases and multiple radar stations and ammunition depots and dumps from Skardu in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir through Noor Khan and Rahim Yar Khan and Mushaf, Sargodha and Jacobabad down to Bolari in Sindh. You hear that? That's Pakistan's worst nightmare. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the BrahMos supersonic cruise missile. Watch this for a moment. I'll tell you so much more about India's big BrahMastra. You hear that impact? That is BrahMos. Neither Pakistan nor China have anything that can stop this supersonic cruise missile. And now we're going in for the hypersonic version. The BrahMos was India's BrahMastra during Operation Sindoor. And information that we have, at least not one, not two, but 15 BrahMos supersonic cruise missiles were launched on the night of May 9 and 10. Once that decision was taken that if Pakistan can target our military installations, we will not spare Pakistan. Hear that sound. That sound may be music to your ears and mine. That's Pakistan's worst nightmare coming true. One airbase after the other hit. Now, India's ramping it up. Now, you're going for the supersonic. After the supersonic version, you're going in for the hypersonic version. And there's rising global demand. Now, if BrahMos stocks are going through the roof, there is a reason for it. And joining me now on this Battle Cry super special is Dr. Shivdhanu Pillai, former CMD of BrahMos Aerospace. Also with me is Air Marshal Anil Chopra, a former Mirage pilot, former Director General of Center for Air Power Studies, and my colleague Sandeep Unnithan, who was with me in the studio through the times that we were reporting on those images of Pakistani air bases and terror bases going up one after the other in smoke, and those huge plumes of smoke and that ball of fire going up. And I want you to look at those images constantly on this special broadcast. That's BrahMos' success story. Dr. Shivdhanu Pillai, thank you very much for being with us and for BrahMos. You headed the BrahMos Corps for about 20 years, sir, 20 years from the drawing board to this music that we hear till 2014, sir. Tell us more about this India-Russia project that played a very crucial role in Op Sindoor. Did you ever think that this would be the success, that this would be India's success story during Op Sindoor, or did you have any doubts whatsoever, sir?
So if you ask me, during my 20 years as the founder, CEO and MD of the BrahMos from 1995, we had to do that design before the approval, design before the intergovernment agreement, and that was a missile which was used by, which will be used by the Navy as well as the later the Army version. But the air version project got approved later, and which we have done it very, very well. And today I am very, very thankful to the Air Force for deploying the missile in the Operation Sindoor. So I had the confidence from the very beginning to see that this missile will be used. So that is why when the General of the Pakistan, who visited with their team during the exhibition at Abu Dhabi, he asked the question about the missile, and he said, why you want to sell it to the Middle East? So I said, yes, we have come for showing our missile system, and it will be definitely exported to Middle East. Then he said, if you are going to give Middle East, will you sell it to Pakistan? So I answered to him, for Pakistan, it will be a free delivery system. That is what we are, contemplating. So what I told that day, it has happened. So that's why I say that I am very thankful to the Air Force.
Sir, that's indeed, I want to bring in Sandeep into this conversation and Air Marshal Chopra. Air Marshal Chopra, free delivery for Pakistan, and that's exactly what happened. And it's only Dr. Pillai who can deliver this with such a straight face. But Air Marshal Chopra, you tell me as an end user, Air Force was the end user of this system. Pakistan, of course, the one country that can vouch for BrahMos, how good this is Pakistan, Air Marshal Chopra.
Absolutely. Let me first begin by saluting Dr. Pillai. I've known him for long, and he has spearheaded this program so excellently, and we are proud. One of the star performers of Operation Sindoor has been the BrahMos missile. And as you said, the kind of battle damage assessments, the kind of videos that are available now in open sources, it's done outstandingly well. The best supersonic cruise missile in the world. Difficult to intercept, high precision, long range. Initially was restricted to 300 because of the missile technology transfer issues. But we now have close to 500, 550 kilometer range. Soon it will be 800 kilometers. And as you said, BrahMos 2 will be hypersonic. And all this is going to happen very, very quickly. And the success rate, we in Indian Air Force, our former Indian Air Force air veterans, if I may call myself, extremely proud of this combination between Su-30 and BrahMos. The biggest thing it is ours. It's a joint venture, but we have the controlling share of more than 51% is with India, and it's one of the top missiles. And I must also mention the world over, why people are queuing up to buy this missile, whether it's the Philippines, the Middle East, Indonesia, many countries are wanting to buy it because it is universally acknowledged good air-to-surface missile. It was a good decision initially for the Navy and the Army. It was made ground-based because it was a heavy missile, but it was brought down to 2.5 tons, and then we put it on the Su-30. Only one can be carried, but as you said, 15 have been fired. Exceptional missile, and I'm looking forward for the day when the NG version, which will be 1.5 ton, will come up, and it'll come on all the fighter aircraft of the Indian Air Force, and I'm looking forward to that stage very soon.
So are we. Sandeep, you and I were in the studio anchoring through the day and night when all of this happened, and when the information started filtering in, Noor Khan bombed, when Jacobabad was bombed, when Rahim Yar Khan, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi later said, was in coma. Every base, or the happiest moment, frankly, for any victim of Pakistan state-sponsored radical Islamist terror, Sandeep, was when Bahawalpur and Muridke were taken down. That was retribution, and on the back of missiles like the BrahMos. What went through your heart and your take on the BrahMos today?
Well, Gaurav, I was actually just thinking of Dr. Shivdhanu Pillai when all those missiles were hitting Pakistan. Of course, that joke that he mentioned, that is like the stuff of, that's a legend in the BrahMos Corporation corridors. Everybody talks about it, but no one actually thought we would get to see it being used in the way it had. It's been used in Operation Sindoor. Absolutely fantastic use of this missile, Gaurav. And, it's a vindication of the struggles of the Indian scientists, the Russian engineers who co-developed it with us. The BrahMos today is actually a far better missile than the original Russian missile, the Yakhant, Gaurav. We've indigenized it, we've brought in so many features. And you know, that is the importance of spiral development. When we talk about spiral development, the BrahMos is the best example of that. It's been in service for 20 years. It was inducted in 2005, test fired before that in 2001. In the last quarter century, the BrahMos today is one of the deadliest conventional weapons that the Indian armed forces have ever used. And it's all three services, Gaurav. I mean, look at it, the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force. The Army has two variants. The Army has a single variant. The Air Force has two variants. The Navy has two variants as well, with a third variant, which is the submarine launch variant that's waiting for a submarine. At some point, that should come in quickly, because this is possibly, it is one of the deadliest weapons, as I mentioned, Gaurav. And, you know, look at the improvements that Dr. Pillai and his team have brought into the missile. You're looking at the Army that fires the BrahMos Block 3 variant, and that is a variant that was introduced exclusively for the Indian Army. The fact is that it does what is called a steep dive, Gaurav. It has a powered descent into the target. It just drops vertically. It's moving at the speed of nearly 3 times the speed of sound, and the kinetic energy of that, you can just imagine, Gaurav, you know, it's 9 times more than what a normal missile would hit the target with. And there is literally no stopping this missile, Gaurav. And this is something that the Americans, and in fact the whole world, will be looking at very carefully, how the ease with which the BrahMos missiles have gone through all of these Chinese ground-based air defense systems and their radar networks. They were penetrated so effortlessly. They've possibly captured the tracks, that whoosh and the bang of the BrahMos missile in real time, Gaurav. It's really, they couldn't do anything about it. They just watched by helplessly as the BrahMos just cut through their air defense networks.
There's nothing that either Pakistan or China have, and that is the biggest morale booster for every Indian. Once a BrahMos is air-launched or ship-launched or launched from ground, there is nothing that Pakistan or China can do to stop it. And it won't be just one missile that's fired. It's a barrage that goes in, and that's Pakistan's worst nightmare should it continue to spread terror in our country. But Dr. Pillai, if I could bring you in, you've seen how everyone is a major fan, and purely on the basis of what BrahMos was able to achieve during Operation Sindoor, and of course tests that we've been privileged to report on, an improved version of the Yakhant, the Onyx. What all have you improved, or did you improve on this India-Russia collaboration to make it a far deadlier weapon in 2025 than what it was in 2005 when it entered service initially with the Navy, sir?
See, if you look at the initial development of this supersonic engine that was done by the Soviet Union, and they had done elaborate tests to qualify this engine, and they also configured a missile around the export version of Yakhant, which had gone through many tests, internal tests, and then proving the configuration. But unfortunately, after the split of the Soviet Union, Russia was not having enough funds to do this program. So that was the time we entered
cruise missile,
and we tried to help the Russians. So we had made an arrangement such a way that 50.5% will be from the Indian side, 49.5% from the Russian side, which they agreed, but there was a difficulty to get the funds from Russian side, which we have managed through the loan repayments. So once we have formalized this program, now we have to adopt the propulsion system from the Russia. But at the same time, we wanted to be equal partners. So that means we need to develop the whole guidance system by us. So that is the contribution. If you see the distribution of technology, nearly 50% of the technology is from the Russian side, including the propulsion and also the RF seeker. And then from the Indian side, we have made the guidance system, which was earlier approved for Prithvi, but we had to improve for this requirement. So finally, we have got a system which is a combination of Indian as well as Russian. Whereas the export version of the NPOM or Russia It is only account has got only a different guidance system that is based on fiber optic gyro, whereas we use ring laser gyro. The accuracy of the ring laser gyro is much superior, and we have seen the accuracy almost 0 CEP we have got in our flights. So that is why I am saying the whole guidance philosophy, guidance system, and the type of launch mechanism, the fire control, what we have used is the Indian contribution is much more than the Russian side. So that has helped us. So it is a step much better than account.
It's so heartening to hear this, every word that you say. And, we've been reporting on BrahMos' journey. I now want your, thoughts on the future variants of BrahMos. Since Pakistan will remain a terror state, since Pakistan will continue to spread terror, since countries like China will remain an irritant, in your appreciation, the BrahMos NG or the next generation, for instance, now, what are plans? How will BrahMos NG be even better than what you have right now, sir?
So when we call next generation missile, it is a missile with a reduced diameter, and the range is also limited to 300 kilometer, but operational speed is increased to 3.2 Mach number. The idea behind that is, when you want to export to many countries, we don't want to give a long-range missile. So it's instead of putting a abort system and giving to them, better we sell it 300 kilometer missile, which is very elegant, small, and very efficient. So here again, we see an advantage that multiple missiles can be put in aircraft. So we are thinking of the BrahMos NG for LCA Mark II, and also many other aircraft can have this missile because of the reduced weight is less than 1.5 tons. Now, the important question here is when the NG will be ready, what are the things to be done? So one is the engine is different. It is a modified engine because first of all the booster size, the engine size, everything to be changed because of the reduced diameter. Very well, it was done by the Russian partner. He has developed the new booster, new engine. He has developed there is a modified engine for the purpose of the NG. And now the guidance system is also with the reduced size has been made. So the missile realization is not going to be far. It can be done, and the NG is going to be very, very efficient in operation, in handling, and putting it in large numbers.
That's a good point that you make. And Air Marshal Chopra, so far because of the weight and the size, we have the Su-30 MKIs that can take one BrahMos, but future with the NG, LCA can take it, Su-30 MKI can take it, other aircraft would be able to take it. It would actually be nightmare into X for any adversary. Would that deter the adversary from trying anything funny with India?
Absolutely, Gaurav. I'm being the only operational man on your show today. Let me tell you that air power is all about range, speed, and precision. And I think all these three things are there with BrahMos. The precision, why? Because we have seen the holes that were made in the Noor Khan hangar or Bolari hangar, in which were lying a large number of aircraft which have been destroyed. So accuracy below 3 meters, in fact, in many cases, less than 1 meter accuracy, the BrahMos. So operationally, a very, very important platform. It's very important, as Dr. Pillai said, to be able to export to other countries. They have smaller aircraft they want to carry. So the NG will perhaps also be exported to other countries. You will restrict their range to 300 kilometers, not necessarily to restrict your own range, because we are ultimately going to 800 kilometers range. So this is the kind, and once all fleets of aircraft, including LCA, will have BrahMos, inventories, I must mention, is locally made. The three services have huge inventories. If the operation has been only for 90 hours, and maybe we have used only 15 missiles, I do not know the exact numbers, but if it carried on, we would have, launched a few hundred BrahMoses in Operation Sindoor, and you can imagine the kind of devastation that would have taken place from the videos that you're already showing. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. And Sandeep, as far as BrahMos NG is concerned, I'll talk about exports in just a moment. For the moment, I want to focus on utilization. What's extremely significant is none of the Chinese radars, none of the Chinese air defense systems, none of the Chinese aircraft or the PL-15s could lock onto our fighter jets firing the BrahMos supersonic cruise missiles. And these ranges are not what ranges are going to be. 800 kilometers away, if it can launch a missile, there is nothing that either Pakistan or that country that sponsors Pakistan can do anything about it, Sandeep.
Absolutely, Gaurav. And in fact, we were just joking that, given the range and the expanding range envelope of the BrahMos missile, it could well be the case that we should worry about these missiles falling into Afghanistan at the ranges at which they're going to be fired. We have, of course, friendly relations with Afghanistan. We don't want to upset them now. But the fact is that the BrahMos is a missile that started with less than 300 kilometers. And of course, it's gone up to more than 500 kilometers. The actual range remains classified, Gaurav. But the fact is that today, the missile in its present avatar is far, far deadlier than what it was 25 years back. And, again, this thing of spiral development, Gaurav. You have to take a weapon system at Mark 1 and go through Mark 2, Mark 3, Mark 4, Mark 5. And as Dr. Pillai and Air Marshal Chopra were mentioning, the BrahMos NG is going to be a far, far deadlier weapon than the BrahMos itself. The fact is that it's lighter. It's just about a little over a ton. It can give a run for any of the other systems that are there, the ground to air-launched, air-to-ground missiles. Given the fact that it's smaller, it's lethal, and of course, it's virtually impossible to intercept. There are very few ground-based air defense systems in the world, Gaurav, except, a few that the Americans have that actually can intercept a supersonic missile that's hurtling at three times the speed of sound. The fact is, we saw it in all those videos, that whoosh and that bang, that's it. That's the end of the target there. So
I will play that out towards the end of the show, but I'm very tempted to bring in Dr. Pillai once again into this conversation, because initially the BrahMos was seen as a ship killer. We were also looking at this submarine-launched BrahMos supersonic cruise missile. That version, what needs to be done and how long must we wait for the submarine-launched BrahMos supersonic cruise missile, sir?
See, BrahMos missile we have tested once from the underwater. We made there's a pontoon which can go deep into the water, and from there is equivalent to the submarine. We fired the missile. The underwater booster performed well to lift it up to the surface, and then booster burns, and then it has done. So we approved the missile for underwater application. Now it is up to the Navy to decide where to put it.
BrahMos Supersonic.
So we were trying to talk to Navy that it should be used with Project 75I, which is a very important program which is going to come. But it has taken very long time to take decision who should be partner for 75I, whether we should do it ourselves totally or with collaboration. So as far as the BrahMos team is concerned, we are ready to put it on the ship. But decision has to come quickly to start 75I with the BrahMos system and also with the air independent propulsion, so that it can be in underwater for a long time and we can fire from underwater. So this is what is planned, and the Navy is taking action on that.
Like the Air Force went in for the Su-30 MKIs and the BrahMos supersonic cruise missiles, make do with what you have and keep improving upon it. Perhaps the Navy should also move with the submarines, with the capabilities that they have. Sandeep, last 30 seconds on that I have on this part of the show. Sandeep, move with what you have, keep improving, but at least keep your lines going. You have the capabilities, you have the expertise, just go ahead and do it.
Absolutely, Gaurav. And as Dr. Pillai was mentioning, there is a case for an Indian indigenous submarine to be built that will fire the BrahMos, and in large numbers. The fact is that Project 75 India is, partly going to be imported, but there is another program for the DRDO to develop, an indigenous conventional submarine with assistance of the ATV program, and that should actually give you the submarine that will be able to launch the kind of, BrahMos missiles that Dr. Pillai is talking about. And that is going to be a devastating weapon, Gaurav. I mean, imagine something like this. What we saw was being launched from the air and from the ground. Imagine a submarine launching salvos of these BrahMos missiles from under the sea, and you don't see it, and you just see these, supersonic rockets streaking at you, one after the other, and you can't see the launch platform. That is going to be something that the enemy is going to be terrified of. And given the ranges that you're talking of, far excess of 500 kilometers as is being mentioned, nothing can stop it.
Absolutely. Like you said, should be terrified. That is what is required. Dr. Pillai, Air Marshal Chopra, Sandeep Punithan for joining me here on this Battle Cry special broadcast. It's the civilizational philosophy. The enemy must be terrified. And how does that happen? Remember in Ramcharitmanas, very clearly, Vinay na manat jaladi jad, bhai teen din beat, bole sako par ram tab, bhai bin hoye na preet. And that is India's civilizational philosophy. There is no respect, no love without fear. And that's exactly what the enemy must feel at all times. That is all I have for you on this India Today special broadcast. Many thanks for watching.